It's 9 o'clock and I'll call the county board meeting to order. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Call the roll.
Commissioner Schlangen?
Here.
Commissioner Johnson?
Here.
Commissioner Pop?
Here.
Commissioner Gopinski?
Here.
Commissioner Heinen?
Here. Approve or amend the agenda.
Mr. Chair, we have no changes.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, I'll move to approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
Motion's been made and second to approve the agenda. We'll have to do roll call because we have one person.
Commissioner Schlangen?
Here.
Commissioner Johnson?
Aye.
Commissioner Pop?
Aye.
Commissioner Gopinski?
Aye.
Commissioner Heinen?
Aye.
And just a note, Mr. Chair, as we go through the agenda, because of Commissioner Schlangen being remote, we will need to do each thing by roll call.
Yep. Correct, yeah.
Yes, thank you, sir.
So the consent agenda, looking for a motion.
We got an open forum.
Open forum, okay. Open forum, has anybody signed up back there?
Get back every bad thing I said about you.
Okay. Jim Hovda from Rice, would you can come to the podium and state your name and address?
My name is Jim Hovda. I'm from Rice, Minnesota. I live in Langola Township on the north end of Little Rock Lake. I guess I'd like to address the commissioners on an issue of concern for me. Waiting in line to get in to obtain information from the Department of Development. On the 5th of January, I wanted to pick up some information from the Department of Development. There was a line of about 5 people waiting to get in. Being the Minnesota nice person that I am, I waited in line for 15 minutes until I gained entrance. Commissioners, it's Minnesota. It's cold. I'm 81 years old. Being inside would have been appropriate. When I got inside, the gate guard asked me if I had an appointment, and I told him I just need to get some information from the Department of Development, and said I could go right in. I called my commissioner, Ed Pop, about my concern. Ed told me about spacing and distancing, and he asked if the gate guard had come out to inquire if there's anyone who needed to wait in their car. He'd call them on their cell. That didn't happen. He said he'd take care of the problem, which I guess he did. Commissioners, this is 2021. Most everybody takes care of their business, from driver's license to all that other stuff, by credit card and phone number. They certainly do it in Stearns County. You call up and you want a driver's license, you need license plates, you give them your credit card number, and yada yada, it's all done. People don't even have to come in. They don't want to come in the first place. I don't think there's any reason for people to stand outside in any weather in Minnesota. We need to take care of the good citizens of Benton County a little bit better. I'd be willing to bet no one stands in line to get in the welfare building. Guaranteed. I understand the social distancing and all this and that, but there's got to be a better way to do this. On a side note, I come in, who's sitting right toward the front next to the senior parking? It's the security car. He doesn't belong there. He belongs parked farther away so the good people can come in here and talk to you good folks. I think there's a little bit better way that you guys could handle that, and I'll let you guys work with it. Okay,
thanks, Jim. We did, we were the only one of the only counties in the area that was open for walk-ins. We weren't. Thank you. From the DMV, we weren't taking appointments, and we have since looked into that and are going to change to have an appointment so we don't have that. And that's part of the reason why we were as busy as we were, is that we had people coming from Mille Lacs and from Stearns County because we were not, they could come and walk in. And I totally agreed with you, the day you called me in today, that, And they should have came out and checked with you in my book on which department you wanted to go to and all that. And I'm sorry if that didn't happen.
Just going out to your car with your cell phone. A lot of seniors don't have cell phones. They don't like them for whatever. So, you got an issue there that there's just got to be a better way to deal with this than standing outside. Now, won't take any more of the good commissioner's time.
All right, thanks, Jim.
Thank you.
Now we'll move on to the consent agenda. I'm looking for a motion to approve items 1 through 9. Starting now, we're not gonna read all them as we have in the past. So,
I'll move approval.
can you state that 1 through 9?
Oh, I'll move approval on the consent agenda. Items 1 through 9.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve items 1 through 9. Does anybody want any of them pulled for further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. Vicky?
Commissioner Schlangen,
Aye.
Commissioner Johnson,
Aye.
Commissioner Pop,
Aye.
Commissioner Gopinski,
Aye.
Commissioner Heinen,
Aye.
Roxanne from the Department of Development, year-end activity and revenue report.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
Okay.
You're always the bearing of good news, I hope.
I hope so too. I was just gonna pull up the spreadsheet here that you have in front of you. All right, I suppose I should share it, especially since we have a commissioner that is not here. Okay, so what you have before you is an outline of our 2020 activity. As you can see, we have seen an increase across the board with everything except for, I believe, ag buildings, and that just remained fairly steady. But the number of house permits were up by 11 from even the past 4 years. So that I think that's positive. Accessory structures were up. Additions, there was a lot of additions that happened last year, and the cost of those, I'll get down to that chart as well, has been significantly increased. Building permits, general building permits has increased additionally. Here we get down to the permit values. Houses are at $301,000 as the average cost of the home for construction. So that's up quite a bit from 2019. $35,000 for accessory structure, $53,000 for additions. And as you can see, again, the additions is up by almost $20,000 on the average cost of an addition. Ag buildings was down slightly, but nothing compared to 2018. 2018 was $49,000. So we're at $106 for the average ag building cost. Here you can see the fluctuation of permits from 2016 to 2020. Building permits were up, but overall I'd say we're remaining fairly steady. We did see an increase, but I wouldn't say it was disproportionate. And then the permit value, again, we saw increases across the board for that, except for the ag buildings. Subdivisions, we had 5 boundary line adjustments, 13 administrative subdivisions, which were 10 acres or more, 8 simple plats, 8 minor subdivisions, 2 additional ones that were not recorded, and 2 plats that are in progress. So I'd say there are plenty of property splits occurring. And I was out on Friday and we had Monday off, and I've got 5 phone calls waiting for me on subdivisions of property. So I think that's a positive for Benton County to know that we're continuing to grow. Any questions on those numbers?
Any questions?
Okay. Move into building official comments. As well, Commissioner Heinen, Commissioner Pop, you may know, and this is, I did go over this slightly with the new commissioners as well, but we renewed David Barsotti's contract for 1 year. And that was based on allowing us to move forward with the intent of pulling in as many comments as possible from the public if there are any concerns. And I provided you with the comment card that is going out with every single land use permit and building permit. And the goal is to get people to reach out to me or to anyone in my office to address any concerns or complaints before it becomes a bigger issue. And I think it would be appreciative if the board receives any comments, if they can either get as much information as you can or direct them to my office. Because if I don't know that they happen, or if the building official doesn't know that he did something wrong, it's very, very hard for us to address it. And so we want to take a more active approach to this and see if what the issue is. Is it something that we have no control over, such as what's laid out in building code, or is there an attitude issue? I think that's important for us to recognize.
Okay.
Mr.
Steve?
Roxanne, when did these comment cards go out, or are they just starting now?
I started right at the end of the year.
You did? Okay.
Yep.
And have you received any
No,
back?
no,
No emails or anything? Okay.
no.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Roxanne, just so I'm clear, so every permit that gets issued has a card with it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep, and it's on a purple sheet of paper, just something that stands out a little more than a plain white sheet of paper.
And would it be fair to say, would staff let the applicant know that, here's your permit, there's also a comment card included that we'd like you to fill out?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, it's not one that you fill out, it's just if you have concerns or complaints or praise,
Yep.
please contact us, let us know, because if we don't know, we can't address it.
Okay.
So I think that's the big thing with this is
So there's
letting
not-
us know.
There's not really a card that, if they want to be anonymous about it, or do you not accept that, or what's your thought process there?
My concern with anonymous is that we don't get enough information to address the issue.
Mm-hmm.
So if someone comes in and says, well, I was treated poorly, they told me one thing, but it meant another, I don't have enough information to do something about it.
Sure.
So we do need these to be specific.
Yep.
And every project's going to be different. So it makes it very, very difficult to have anything be anonymous.
So they can do that verbally with you through a phone call or communicate through you with email?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Anything else?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I'm actually gonna reach out to a few people that I know are building currently and see how things are going.
Wonderful.
Okay.
That would be great. Do you want to see something more so that applicants would fill out and return to us?
Sometimes, I don't know that I necessarily do, I'm just thinking out loud
Sure.
here, that sometimes people will write things down that they maybe wouldn't say.
Mm-hmm.
Whether that has a bunch of value or not, I don't know. But at least maybe at that point, there's something on paper that DOD could follow up with.
My email is on there if they choose
Sure.
to, or they can mail it in.
Yep,
I
I think there's
that's,
plenty of options.
I think it's a step in the right direction because, as we have always stressed in the past that we want to be public friendly in Benton County. And this sure is a step in the right direction to that deal. And I agree with you with the complaints. Sometimes if I get a complaint, it was always like 2 weeks later, and if I can get that to you, or maybe we can address them to send that to you. And if they haven't acknowledged that, I don't know, truthfully, on some of them, if they actually knew to complain to you. I think they just called up the commissioners and said,
Sure.
I've had this issue.
Sure.
So maybe we can relay that a little bit besides your card that goes in with the building.
Yeah,
deal.
absolutely.
So, yeah, I think that's a really good idea.
Good. And then we'll reevaluate around September because that'll give us enough time to make a decision on whether to renew the contract or if we want to go back out for bids. So.
Okay.
Second on that list is the Boundary Commission cost assessment. We're moving forward with this, and it will take a couple of months for us to get where we need to be, where we can bring those individuals from Watab Township, right on Little Rock Lake there, in for a public hearing on this cost assessment. We're looking at roughly $67,000 spread across 22 lots and then the right-of-way for Watab Township. Michelle and I and Nadine have been working closely together to try and determine exactly what this process is for cost assessment. I don't know that the county's ever done it, so it's brand new to all of us. And there's certainly a number of steps that need to take place in order for us to complete this process. I know at the end of the meeting today, we'll be discussing committee of the whole so that we can sit down and go through exactly what needs to happen, the decisions that need to be made by the board, and when we can expect to move forward with a public hearing.
Okay. I guess you kind of answered my question. I know Commissioner Johnson knows a lot about this, as you know, coming from Planning Commission, but were the other commissioners, have you been informed what goes on here? No, so, I mean.
Sure. So the Boundary Commission was asked by us from the township, well, from one of the residents in an area of Little Rock Lake where the property lines did not match up the area that they were occupying. So if anybody sold property, they could have title issues because they're occupying a space that is not actually what's described on their deed. So it was, I think, well, right now it's 22 lots. Prior to the plat, it was a number of different lots, hodgepodge pieces of property. And so what we did, because we have the county has the ability to move forward with this platting process and to assess this cost back to those property owners, we moved forward with that. That happened in 2019, I believe it was. We started that. And so the attorneys that are involved with doing all the research of the deeds, the surveying that's involved, all of that cost came up to $67,000. And by statute, the county does have that right to do this, move forward, and assess the property owners back. Ultimately, it gives them a more saleable lot because it doesn't have that cloud on the property anymore.
And I think one of the things that came out when we did that, you know, it wasn't fair that the county pick up that tab if you live in, you know, Alberta Township or Glen Dorado Township versus Watab.
Right.
It's up to them individuals, so that's why
The benefiting property owners.
Benefiting property owners, so.
Right.
I mean, it's been a long time a coming, so.
Yeah.
Mr. Chair, I would add too, I think Roxanne, correct me if I'm wrong, but most of the residents at the end understood that this is gonna be of some value to them if they'd like to move ahead with the sale of their property.
I think they understand that part.
Yes. Yeah.
I can't say that about the cost.
Right, I understand.
Mr. Chair, the issue they're gonna have is if they try and sell, they're not gonna have a very good deed to go off of. Now they do and they couldn't probably do that for that price.
Right. It becomes an issue if there is a mortgage taken out on a property, then you need title insurance, and when there's a cloud on the title, it causes an issue. Mm-hmm. If somebody were to buy the property with cash, there's not as big of an issue with that, and it's not as closely analyzed. Mm-hmm. It's a swapping of a deed, quite literally. And this is much cheaper than if each individual property owner were to take this on themselves. We're looking at close to $3,000 per parcel, whereas if each property owner took this on themselves, it'd be around $25,000.
Yep.
Roxanne, do you know, is it split by the size of the parcel or is it just by parcel?
So this is one of the things that we'll discuss at the committee of the whole, and Michelle and I will present options on how this can be split. Right now we're looking at by lot.
By lot, okay.
Yes. Yep.
Any other questions for Roxanne on that?
No, the rest can be at the committee of the whole.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then just lastly, we're working through geo permits. I got to sit down with Tracy, who is with Schneider, and he's the one assisting Chris and I through this process. And I am so excited to get this moving forward. Just seeing it coming together, I think it's going to be extremely beneficial for the county to have this ability. So hopefully we can get this rolling out sooner rather than later. It does take some time to put these processes together, but looking forward to it.
Moving forward is always good.
Yep, that is. Anything else?
Nothing else from me.
Any questions for her? All right, thanks for the report.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Nadine, and I think Heather's gonna take her place today.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
So the Auditor Treasurer's Office has received a request for abatement of the late fees, penalties, and interest on 26 lots owned by Cove Development Company, who is in the process of recording a plat to combine the smaller lots into larger lots. They're hoping to make them more marketable for sale. According to Minnesota Statute 379.192, except as provided in sections 469.1812 to 469.1815, which deals with an economic development abatement, which is a different kind of situation. No reduction or abatement may be granted on the basis of providing an incentive for economic development or redevelopment. As of December 2020, when the request was received on the 26 lots, the taxes that were owed were $38,564, and the late fees, penalties, and interest were $11,327.51. Jim Bronson, who submitted the request, stated that Cove Development Company would be willing to pay the taxes in exchange for abatement of the other fees. But again, in our research, statute doesn't allow for this type of abatement that's being requested. The property taxes on the 26 lots have not been paid since January of 2018. And as of January of 2021, Cove Development Company owes a total to the county of $94,791.32 on all of its lots. So that's just to give you kind of some background. We are not trying to stop economic development in our county. We're in support of economic development. However, as I stated, it doesn't appear that statute allows for this type of abatement that's being requested. An economic development abatement, which is a totally different thing. It would have to be approved in advance. This is someone coming to us saying, I haven't paid my taxes for 3 years. I'm going to give you $38,000, but I'm not willing to pay this other $11,000. It would also not be fair to the other developers in our county that have set up payment agreements on their taxes that they've owed and have been paying on, you know, the penalties, interest, and fees for many years as well. So we wanted to bring this to you today because the gentleman was very concerned. We wanted the commissioners to hear his concerns, hear his request. As far as we can tell from our review of the statute, this would not be allowable by statute. Do you guys have any questions?
Any questions for?
Mr. Chair, Heather, just to make sure I'm clear on the numbers, I thought I heard you say that there has been some payment made of $38,564 plus the late fees, penalties, and interest. Is that correct?
Not correct.
Okay.
So Cove Development owns many, many lots. They owe a total of the $94,791.32.
Yep.
The outstanding taxes on the 26 lots that they want to combine is the $38,564,
Okay.
and then the penalties and interest that they want abated on that is the $11,327.51.
Okay, thank you.
So, but as you said, according to statute and law, we really can't do anything. So what would be this gentleman's next step?
If he wants to combine his lots, he has to pay everything current on the lots that he wants to combine.
Any other questions?
Mr. Chair, so Heather, so he would have to pay up front the $49,000,
Correct.
not the total of $94,000?
Correct. They have to pay current the taxes, penalties, and interest on the lots they want to combine, not everything.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
would there be a way that they could set up a payment plan for for a year to catch it up? Basically just to get him down that road so he can start getting some of these properties sold and developed?
So they still own their properties, unfortunately. They can't do a combine on the properties until those taxes are paid in full. So we'd be willing to accept payments. We're always willing to accept payments. but we're not able to authorize them to combine the lots and do, record a plat.
Okay.
Because when we sign off on a plat, we're signing off that all those taxes are paid current.
And Heather, and all that again is you're bound by law and statute, right?
Correct.
Okay,
Mr. Chair.
yes.
Hypothetically, he could take 6 or 8 lots, pay that up, and then combine those or not? Or does he have to do that whole development?
I'm not sure what the rules are regarding a plat, but a plat is typically for a specific legal description, so I would assume that they would not be able to do that.
Okay.
He could do several final plats, if that's the way that he wanted to proceed.
Roxanne, would that occur more cost? Probably?
Slightly, well, I wouldn't say not a whole lot of cost, just the generation of the plat,
Okay.
which probably does cost, a couple $100 to print the Mylars and stuff,
Okay.
but I wouldn't say thousands of dollars. It would be a phased approach to the platting.
Instead of the one big lump deal?
Right.
Okay. Anything else, any other comments? Okay, well, thanks for the information.
Yeah, actually,
Steve?
Mr. Chair, this is really out of our hands. This is out of our control anyway,
Correct.
with the state statutes. so-
Right. I mean, we're all about, development in Benton County, but, we do have to follow the laws and the statute that go with it, so. Okay,
Thank you.
all right, well, thanks for the update.
Oh,
I have a
Hold it.
question.
Sure, go ahead, Beth.
Is this a private landowner or is it somebody that bought the land for development?
This land has been under Cove development for quite some time. When I was looking the other day, I saw at least as far back as 2006.
So, the original landowner doesn't own this anymore, somebody took over that area?
No, it's still under Cove Development Company. So it's been under Cove Development since at least 2006, and I believe possibly longer than that.
So the, person that had that property before doesn't have that anymore?
Correct.
Somebody else acquired that?
It's, well, the gentleman that was making the request, we have seen documents that he has signed as president of the company that were from 2006. So he has been involved with it since at least then.
Virtually, Beth, nothing has changed since 2006 as far as ownerships of that property goes.
Okay, and they bought it for development?
Yeah, that's what the original cost was, and then the lots were, from what I gathered, the lots were too small to be really marketable, so they wanted to combine some of the lots to make them bigger, to have more marketable, and that incurred to be replotted. Am I correct on that?
So is there some way to assess this property since it hasn't been used at a lower rate than another?
My take on that would be that would be from the Land Services Department, and I very likely doubt that.
But this property is zoned residential now, right? Right.
correct.
It would take a rezoning, and then you would
Correct.
change the permissible uses, which you probably don't want to do.
Correct.
Yeah. So everything on there looks like we're pretty much on course. It's on course to what has to happen here. If it, with the option of doing smaller plots, from what I understand.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Well, just one last comment, just to clarify what I was talking about earlier is, I think Commissioner Heinen made it known best as this is kind of out of our hands with the state statutes, but if we could have the county work with the Cove Development the best way they can to stay within statute, but yet move it along.
Yeah.
And if there's any extra costs, I would assume, a few $100 here and there, they might be willing to take and pay to break this up into a smaller piece.
At least you'd have some, some sales coming in.
Yep,
In
to
order to
cover
pay
it.
what is already owed. Okay,
They can probably pass the expenses off to the people that buy the or after they develop it eventually.
that would probably be up to them. That's their process, not ours. So, any other questions? Any other comments? All right, thank you, Heather, for
Thank
explaining
you.
that. At this time, we're gonna recess the regular board meeting to conduct human services, and we're at the allotted time, so Commissioner Heinen?
Wow, I guess it is my turn. We'll call the order of the Human Services Board. Is there anything to amend or approve?
No.
I'm sorry, any additions or changes?
No.
Nothing? Entertain a motion.
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Second.
Okay, got a motion and a second to approve the agenda. All in favor, say aye. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Schlangen,
Aye.
Commissioner Johnson,
Aye.
Commissioner Pop,
Aye.
Commissioner Gopinski,
Aye.
Commissioner Heinen.
Aye. Consent agenda, number 1 and number 2.
I'll move to approve the consent agenda, items 1 and 2.
I'll second.
Okay, got a motion and a second. Anyone want number 1 or number 2 pulled for clarification? All in favor, say aye. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Schlangen,
Aye.
Commissioner Johnson,
Aye.
Commissioner Pop,
Aye.
Commissioner Gopinski,
Aye.
Commissioner Heinen.
Aye. Okay, Bob, it's all yours.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
Morning.
My only other thing is we have a contract between the St. Cloud YMCA and Benton County Human Services. And what that is it's part of our SHIP program. And I'm not sure if you're familiar with necessarily what SHIP is, but SHIP has 2 priorities. And that's to promote healthy eating and active living through policy systems and environmental change while reducing obesity and tobacco use. So those are the 2 ideas behind SHIP. And what we do typically is we have various programs or companies that we contract with to spend that money. And this happens to be the YMCA. We have set up some various different Try Wellness at Work programs through YMCA. And this $500 will help them to be able to buy supplies and so forth for the next coming year. So it's an ongoing contract. It probably could have went on the consent agenda, but I think it didn't, so it gave me an opportunity to explain it a little bit. So I would entertain any questions you may have.
So we've had this contract before?
Yes.
Okay.
It actually is a contract, but it's a little bit different in that it's new supplies, but it's really the same contract, so.
Any other questions from the board?
Mr. Chair, I'll move to approve the contract between Benton County Human Services Board and the St. Cloud YMCA. It's been presented.
I'll second.
Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion on this? Okay, all in favor say aye. Roll call.
Commissioner Schlangen,
Aye.
Commissioner Johnson,
Aye.
Commissioner Pop,
Aye.
Commissioner Gopinski,
Aye.
Commissioner Heinen.
Aye. I have one thing, Bob. How's the vaccinations going?
Well, we had prepared to start moving at breakneck speed because we thought at one point in time we were going to get a whole bunch more shots and so forth. But I think what ended up happening is there just isn't that reservoir of immunizations. So I think we're kind of back to opening it up to a more expansive group of people. However, we don't have any more shots. So I think at that point in time, we're going to continue to plug along as we originally did, although including the 65 and older group and people with existing conditions. So I think it's a situation where we're going to continue to go on until we ramp up our immunizations that get sent to each state. So that's kind of where we're at.
So Bob, the state gets like 60,000 vials or whatever every week, correct?
Yes.
And then, do we get anything from them? The counties, each county in the state, get any vials from them?
Well, the last I heard is we've been getting about 100 shots
Okay.
at any given time. So I think maybe it was 150. I don't know exactly, but we're getting a small amount, and we're actually having regular clinics over at the Sauk Rapids Government Center. And I think we're doing them about once a week or so, trying to knock out some of those people that are eligible for those shots. So,
Is that a call-in program then, or how are you?
no, actually, what we're doing is we're following the MDH, the Minnesota Department of Health recommendations on who we go, and they've broken it up into option 1, A, B, and C, 2, A, B, and C, and so forth. So I think it's just simple that we follow that recommendation by the Department of Health.
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead, sir.
It's working very well. I had my first shot last week, so.
All right.
Because of the fire department, and
Sure.
it was quick. It was all on the mobile app. You sign up and they give you a time, and I was in another in 15 minutes.
And you don't look like you're suffering in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
Well, it hits people differently.
Yes.
I'll say that, but I'm glad I got it.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, I heard, if you were watching the news last night, they said one of the largest school districts in the state got 27 doses. Yeah, I mean.
Well, that's one of the things that we have talked about a little bit. I think we talked about it at the management meeting is we're going to have to decide when we do get those shots, when we open it up to schools. We have how many people at all of our schools, and we're not going to get near that many shots. So how do we start prioritizing who actually gets them? So it's going to be an interesting situation. We've even talked about, as far as the county goes, when we do get down that far, who in the county gets them first. So we have a lot of prioritizing that we're going to have to do, and it's good that MDH has given us some guidelines, but I think within those guidelines we have some decisions to be made as well. So.
Well, that all started last night. My wife works at the school in Royalton, and she got an email from their health person, and they received 5 doses. And I said,
good luck trying to figure out who those 5 are.
I said, well, you could as well kept the email. You know?
Yes.
Anything else for Bob?
Bob, do you got is there a document out there that shows like what underlying conditions meet the criteria?
Yes, MDH has that on their website.
Okay,
Plus,
perfect.
I probably have that information somewhere. But yes, it's fairly documented, and I think that it's more strenuous situations like heart conditions and diabetes and things like that. But I was trying to think of myself. Do I have any? But nothing that rises to that level.
Good.
Okay, anything else? At this time, I'll adjourn the Human Service
Thank you.
Board and turn it over
Thanks, Bob.
to the chair.
Thank you.
Right, thanks, Bob. I'll reconvene the regular board meetings. Commissioner meeting updates. Have we got anything? Who wants to start if they've had anything?
Mr. Chair, I could start if that's
Sure.
okay. I did attend our planning commission last week, and we did have 2 preliminary plats that I believe one was on the consent agenda today to be moved forward for final. We also had some discussion in regards to the existing solar garden that is on the north end of the city, over here between the city limits and the county garage along Highway 25. That owner was in looking for the potential of updating their interim use permit to 35 years versus 27. And the city of Foley expressed their concern with that, which the planning commission agreed with, that at this time that owner still has the ability to come in at the 25 or 26 year mark and request an interim use permit at that point. And we just really felt, along with the city of Foley, that that's just way too far out right now to be allowing that type of thing when really none of us have been around long enough to see where the solar gardens are really going to be at. So it was nice to have some agreement between the planning commission and city on that particular item. So also we had an applicant come in, Travis Scott, is looking at purchasing the old hops facility out there and looking at expanding his contracting business. So that was pretty exciting. His
Okay.
first step was to come in for a conditional use permit, which he got, and so he can move forward hopefully with his purchase, and that'll be
Wow.
a really nice facility to have somebody in out there. So that was obviously a very good item also. And our last item on our agenda that night was a conditional use permit for an after-the-fact contractor cabinet shop type of situation. And after a long discussion, that applicant did receive his conditional use permit. So now I think the end story, it's on him to be able to come back and work with the building inspector to get the appropriate permits he needs to move forward with whichever type of business he decides to go with. So.
Okay, on that question on that solar deal, what was his reasoning for from 27 to 35?
I believe he probably had a good argument. His main reasoning was that it becomes more saleable if he would like to sell that part of it, because he can show that there's a 35-year permit on it versus a 27, which makes some sense business-wise. I just think there was some nervousness between the planning commission and the city that you really have. We haven't closed the door on you to be able to do that. But at this time, nobody felt comfortable in giving him an additional 8 years. He actually received, and correct me if I'm wrong, Roxanne, but typically we give 25-year, and he received a 27-year right out of the gate on his first permit. So.
I mean, 25 years, there's going to be a lot of updates in these things in
I think
5 years, and I think, that would be my biggest concern.
Yeah.
Okay. Steve, you have anything?
Yeah, I had one meeting, actually I had two, but I couldn't make the first one. Career Solutions Joint Power Board, of course, I was elected chair. Just a lot of old stuff we had to go over. They talked a little bit about Electric Lux, and that'll be ending pretty soon. And then Excel Optical, they still have 20 people left yet employed, so they just kept shifting people around. They have no idea when they're going to close their door. No idea. So we're going to have to change some contracts because we've only got 2-year contracts with all this stuff. So we'll have to change some contracts. Other than that, Deed, I've got some meetings I have to attend on vacation with Deed, and I don't think I'm real happy about that yet. I'll have to choose to do them or not, but Deed is trying to change the grant process for all of this stuff and try to compile it all into one. It's kind of a mess, but they think that the legislators know better than us of how the grant process should work. Okay. So it'll be interesting. That's all I have, sir.
Okay.
I did not have any, sir.
Beth, did you have anything?
No, I didn't.
Okay. The only thing that I had is I had a membership meeting with BEP on the membership committee, along with Kevin Johnson. I'm trying to think who else is on there. Kevin Johnson, former Commissioner Bowerly, and Laura Gargas. And our membership is actually doing quite well between new members and members that have re-signed up. And then we're going to have another membership meeting around the first part of February to go back and see what we're going to do with the ones that haven't rejoined from the, and see if they have a reason or not why they didn't rejoin. We had a lot of discussion on the cities. There's a real difference in the amount of per capita what the cities pay. Sauk Rapids comes in at 39 cents per person, and granted we have a $5,000 max, and Foley actually comes in at the high end of almost 80 cents per person, and then we got Rice coming in at about 49 cents. So there's a little discrepancy there on what cities pay. Sartell, I can't remember what Sartell and St. Cloud paid, and then we were asking the townships for $1 per person, and for some odd reason, Watab Township is at a flat $2,500, and so they pay $2,500. And a smaller township, the one that came in the day before that was Graham, and they're at $1. So they're kind of looking at something to get maybe a little more uniform in here, and if they can, because I mean, if Rice is coming in at 49 cents and Foley's coming in at 80 cents, that's probably not a real good deal. So Steve?
Yeah, so the question about that is who determined that and what was rationale?
She was gonna go back and look at when it was set up
Oh,
and come back with us at how it was done. I know townships was at $1, but then they had a lot of pushback, on a couple of larger townships.
right.
That, Watab had virtually moved to like 3,400 versus 2,500. And if you go to them meetings, yeah, 30, when they have road projects and everything else, $3,400 is a lot. Where, they have about the same amount of miles as what a smaller township maybe has 17 to 22 miles, and Watab has 38 miles. So, some of that stuff takes into effect. So they're going to try and see if they can kind of smooth that out a little bit as we move forward with that. But all in all, membership's really good, and she's doing a really good job, I think, in my book of creating new members and the value of it. I know I went with her a week ago, Monday, to Graham Township, and she had a check when we left for the membership. So, granted, it was only $600 or $400, but I mean, so.
But it's a membership.
It's a membership, yeah.
It's a membership.
And they've been a member in the past. And she did pick up, Alberta Township paid their membership. And we talked about that a little bit before, and it must have come in the last few days. I was to their annual meeting last year, and they voted the general public, the township, the general public gets to decide what you spend. And they had a motion and a second, and they voted to pay that, and it was never paid. But now you got to realize that what they do in March is for 2021, so it came in for 2021. So that part's good, and that was the only meeting that I had. Commissioner concerns, anybody got any concerns that they want to bring forth? Okay, set committee of the holes or designate any previous meetings held as necessary.
Mr. Chair, so we have quite a few, so
Okay.
sit back and relax, I guess. Apologies in advance. All right, so yes, Roxanne would like to have a committee of the whole to discuss boundary commission issues. Also, I know our new board members haven't had a chance to meet with Michelle Meyer, Assistant County Attorney. She's going to hear about County Attorney's Office and any advice she can give you as new commissioners about various topics. So I have some dates from Michelle and Roxanne. Looking into next week, how does next week look? Let's say 25th or 25th or 26th next week.
Unless you guys are joining me on the slope skiing.
You're going, okay, we'll skip forward then. All right, let's move on the week of, I'm sorry here, hang on, look at my calendar, all right. So the week of the 25th is out. Let's go then the week of February 1st. Michelle says the 1st or the 3rd or the 5th work for her.
Could, Mr. Chair,
Yes.
would right after the board meeting on the 2nd work?
So the 2nd. Really, that's up to you all. It just makes sure if you're prepared for a long day, that's it works for us as staff. We're here.
Are you talking to have the Boundary Commission and Michelle at the same time?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, because she's going to be part of that discussion. So we thought, hey, she just do her kind of county attorney education stuff and then do Boundary Commission all at once. Yeah.
Roxanne, how long do you think Boundary Commission would take?
Oh, gosh. 30 minutes, 45 minutes, at least.
What I was going to suggest to you possibly is combining the Boundary Commission and county attorney's issues with the DMV issue, and that probably would put you at about maybe 2 hours.
So then and depending on how long the board meeting goes, you'd be getting out there a ways.
Mr. Chair, do we know yet what's on the agenda for February 2nd? I mean, we have a busy.
Sorry, I don't really have a good sense of what. I can't think of anything major, although is Chris here? You step out? Stepped out. What could make it a long day would be a ditch authority meeting, and I don't know yet at this point if we'll have a ditch authority, but I can't think of any enormous county board issues for the 2nd. No.
I mean, if we could be done by, board would be done by 10:30, it wouldn't be too bad, but if we get beyond that, then it's gonna be.
Yeah. Well, I guess it's one of those things, if, you know, you can't wrap it up, you can't wrap it up, and you have to continue at another time, so.
I guess I'm with Commissioner Kapinski. I'd rather have our call right after the county board meeting if we could, but.
Okay. Well, one thing we can do to try and help things out, and that is, you know, if there's something on that February 2nd agenda we can delay to make for a shorter board meeting, we'll try.
Okay.
You know, we'll try for sure, right?
Mr. Chair, you wanna check with Beth?
Oh, yes. Beth, did you want to chime in? Does that work for you?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
So February 2nd then would be the Boundary Commission / DMV issues at the conclusion of county board, so roughly 10:30. I don't necessarily think the DMV issue is going to take a long time. I know it just, I think for Nadine wanted to discuss this with the board sooner rather than later.
Okay.
You know, so, okay, so February 2nd. Approximately 10:30. Okay, and we'll notify Michelle of that and Nadine. Okay. I know Bob wanted to get on the calendar his quarterly Human Services Committees of the Whole, and the first one starting roughly February 1st, Bob? Is that it?
Yeah, we have typically met with the board in Human Services as part of having some back and forth face-to-face time with the board and Human Services. And it's been quarterly, so that we typically had them January, April, etc. But that was a little bit much to ask you guys to do it very first Monday. So anyway, that's kind of what our plan has been, although we don't necessarily have to do that. I would like to keep them on Mondays because my management team meets every Monday from 10:30 to noon. So it makes a good opportunity for us to already have it on our schedule anytime you want to do it. So February 1st would be the first time, but I understand with you having a long day the 2nd, we could probably figure out a different day, but then get back on track in May.
So it'd be May, August, and November, right? Yeah.
Would be the first Monday at
So
10 o'clock.
February 1st, May 3rd, August 2nd, November 1st.
I cannot make it February 1st, Bob.
That's fine.
Okay. And normally we start at 10 o'clock, right, Bob?
Yes.
Yeah.
Right, 10 to noon roughly.
So we could probably go any one of the February Mondays.
Well, the 15th will be out because it's President's Day,
Yeah, we got the 8th.
the 8th.
How about the 8th? February 8th?
February 8th works for me.
Works for me.
Beth, does February 8th work for you?
I think so.
What about the rest of the year? Can we go ahead and at least get those tentatively on the calendar? Are we reverting back to first Mondays, Bob?
Yes, that would be.
So that'd be May 3rd, August 2nd, and November 1st. I think, yes.
February 8th, I might be out of town.
May 3rd, August 2nd, November 1st. Okay.
And that'd be at what time, Bob?
10 o'clock to noon.
August 2nd.
We've never had one go to noon, just so you know.
Huh?
We've never had one go to noon yet, but there's always a first.
I think you'll find them very interesting. I mean, I think they've worked out quite well.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's really so much complexity in Human Services that it makes sense for you to, we'll have a full agenda for you each time and we'll have lots of interactions. So I think it's a good opportunity, and we have so much stuff going on right now with St. Cloud and just all the myriad of other things, so.
Oh, you want the other dates?
How do we feel about having them up on your third floor conference room?
It'd be May 3rd.
Is that where you're thinking they'd be?
Oh, I was thinking this first one
Here.
with, yeah, here.
Okay.
But then, as the COVID goes, at some point in time, we would probably want to revert back to the HS
I would say for
third
now,
floor.
Vicky, just say here and then we'll, yeah.
Reason being, I think the idea behind that was when we did our human services study and a couple of our surveys, the employees felt that they didn't have any contact with the board and really wanted to be able to, it hasn't happened much, but we've had a couple employees step forward and want to do some small presentations to the board. So I think that that was something that the board agreed that it was important for them to have, for you to have some contact with HS employees.
All right, so we got that one done.
Yep.
Thank you.
Still working.
All right.
For our existing board members, you may remember in the past we had goal setting sessions offsite, and I thought it'd be good to have one of those again if you're inclined. In the past, we've met. I'm not sure if we can do this, but we've met over at Jimmy's in the back room, a couple hours, talk about priorities and goals and what you think we should focus on, and whatever else lands on the agenda. I think generally in the past, board members have appreciated that kind of informal get together just to talk about various issues. So, I guess it's just a matter of if you're interested in doing that, it's just a matter of finding a date. We were talking earlier. I don't know if actually we can use Jimmy's back room yet. I'll find out.
Otherwise, Monty, we met at Jack and Jim's. They probably could accommodate us there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so we'll find. The back room at Jimmy's seems to work really well
Yeah.
because it's our kind of private room. Obviously, it's a public meeting, but it's less distractions. So
Check with the number of people that we'll have, and if they can, safely do that.
right, if we can, it'd be nice.
Are you looking for February again, Monty?
Sure. Let's see here. So it'd be like roughly again like a 10 to noon, and then we usually stay for lunch and continue going afterwards as long as you want. So what's a good date for you all in February?
I think you're going to be gone.
I'm gone the week of the 15th, as of right now.
I already have 17 meetings
17?
the month of February scheduled.
17. We can certainly move into March if that helps.
Yes. I would appreciate March. My February is, as I stated earlier, Monty, my February is full.
So early March, okay. Just a preview of coming attractions. I'm very hopeful that we can have a new discussion about the class and comp study at this. I really think we should. Frankly, there might be some value in having it in early March, because by then we'll have the state's February forecast.
Right.
And we'll have a better sense of what's going on with the state budget.
Correct.
So early March should be great. So what do you have? Let's see here.
The board
Any
meeting on the
day of the
7th.
week is better or worse? Yeah, week of March 1st. Like Wednesday, for me, is wide open. Wednesday's wide open. The 3rd.
Wednesday I have a meeting.
Tuesday's a board meeting day. How about Thursday, the 4th?
That would work for
I'm
me.
good for that day.
Thursday the 4th works for me.
Commissioner Slungen, Thursday, the 4th.
I'm not sure, I haven't checked to see when all my meetings are.
Yeah, I know. In particular, this is extremely important that it works for all 5. I mean,
Right.
that's really important. So Commissioner Slungen, you'll need to let us know.
Wait till our next meeting and discuss it, and we can figure out when we have all our meetings.
Everything should have been.
Well, maybe what we could do is go ahead and tentatively schedule it today for the 4th at 10 on March, and then if we have to change it, we'll change it.
Yep. Fair enough.
Yeah, because again, I want to make sure everybody can be there for sure.
You want to start at 10 a.m.?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And you'll let us know the location then.
March 4th at 10, Jimmy's, unless we
Hear differently?
hear otherwise. That's right, yeah.
Did everybody get notified of all their committee assignments from those committee people that were those?
Yes.
We got the breakdown from Vicky as to which ones we are assigned to.
Yeah.
Which ones you're assigned to? Did you get notification from them?
No.
I've only received one notification.
Okay,
See, I've received a couple.
okay,
Yeah.
so I'm assuming within a week.
So obviously you received in the mail the updated listing, and then by Wednesday the next day, Vicki and I had completed notifying all these organizations about these appointments, your phone number, your email address, so they've all had
They
them.
all got it.
Yeah, they all got them. You bet. That's taken care of.
Well, and I would think at the end of the day, depending on how it works for everybody else, this may be a higher priority than one of those potential committee meetings.
Yeah.
We'll have to discuss that when it gets to it.
Okay, so, yep. So, again, just tentatively March 4th at 10. Again, knowing we of course can change it if there are conflicts. So, the other one was we discussed at the last board meeting, starting to reschedule the employee forums where the board would invite employees to come in here and just address any issue informally that they wish to. And I know in the past we did them, I think 4 times a year. That probably was too many. I was going to suggest maybe twice.
Twice or three.
Twice a year, maybe a couple. So, one the first half, one the second half of the year, and just see what kind of attendance you get.
And for you, the ones that are here, we addressed them, we did them at 8 a.m., right?
Right. So you come, it was done the day of a board meeting, you're already going to be here, so we would set some chairs up out here at, 8 a.m., and whoever showed up, they could come in and address whatever issue they wish to. We had some ground rules for it.
Yep.
And we always remind people what those ground rules are. So
Tuesday, April 6th.
It'd be a matter of picking a board meeting day and say, what day would you be comfortable coming in at 8 o'clock to possibly meet with whoever would be here, so.
Tuesday, April 6th.
That's kind of in the middle, huh?
So the first one would be April 6th, okay. At 8. And then, I don't know, jumping ahead, sometime early, maybe fallish, September, October, maybe October. So that'd be either the 5th or the 19th.
In October?
Yeah. Be the 5th or the 19th.
I will be gone the 19th.
Okay. So the 5th?
October 5th, okay. October 5th. Great. Alrighty. We're making lots of progress.
Really?
Until we have to change it.
Starting to wear out my welcome here.
Yep.
It's time to recognize employees for years of service, and we usually do that twice a year now. Is that correct, Vicki?
Yep.
So employees who had service anniversaries for the previous 6 months. What had happened there was the board had been, like for example, starting at the sheriff's office and recognizing those employees, going out to highway, going up to human services. The last time we did this, we did it virtually with GoToMeeting, and some employees were up on the screen there, and then of course the board was here. Vicki, is that the intention? Is that this one would be virtual?
Yep, and we'd started at 7:50.
Seven.
Kind of go in groups.
7:50. Okay. So again, it'd be done on a board meeting day, and we would start at 7:50. And it looks like again the intention for at least this one would be virtual. So you all would be here, and employees would be up on the screen. So 7:50. So it's just a matter again picking a board meeting day here fairly soon. Let's see here. Today's the night. So how about would the first board meeting in February work to come in a little early?
We're already gonna try doing a call with DMV and Department.
Oh, I'm sorry. That that makes your day even longer. How about second then?
The
February
16th.
I'm gone the 16th.
Yep.
February 16th. Okay. Then let's go to March 2nd. Is that gonna work?
Yep, that works for me.
March 2nd. Okay.
At 7:50.
Yes, sir. Yeah. March 2nd, 7:50.
So, and what's going on then?
This is where our board members recognize employees who have years of service milestones, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. And In the past, actually, the board went on site to each department and would present, for example, their service pins and gift certificates and so on and so forth. And of course, we hope we can get back to that someday, where the board is actually going to each, to departments and meeting folks in person. But I think for this one, we would do it here in the boardroom virtually, and employees would join us by GoToMeeting. We did that the last time, and it seemed to work fine, especially because we have lots of employees who are working from home, and they'd of course have to drive in, so it makes it easier for them to participate virtually. So
The only downfall I seen is that we didn't get any rolls from the highway when we did it virtually.
Well,
that was a huge downfall.
You mentioned it this time, so we probably will.
Got to fix that one.
Yeah.
So.
We weren't snowplowing that day, were we?
Likely
You couldn't
excuse.
get them over the internet. You couldn't get them sent to us, Chris.
Right. So, it's great we can go back doing this in person, because it allowed the board members to be out in departments, meeting employees directly, face to face, and that was really nice. So, but I'm hearing is probably the conventional wisdom is we probably should do this one virtually, at least one more virtually. Okay, we got that one set. And then just a couple of others to mention. Vicki, where's the date on this one?
It's attached.
Okay. Okay. You're invited to the Career Solutions Annual Workforce Development Highlights. This is Thursday, February 11th at 3 p.m. It's done via Zoom. This is something they do every year. They invite county board members in, and oftentimes they'll have clients provide testimonials on the services they received and how they're doing in the workforce. It's something they've been doing for a long time. I'm guessing again, so it's February 11th at 3 via Zoom. They're probably going to ask us to RSVP, so perhaps we could get a show of hands of who would be interested in, and Vicki will register you for that.
What time is that, Monty?
Sorry?
What time of the day?
At 3 p.m.
3 o'clock.
Yeah. Would there be interest, and we can get you registered?
Are we can do that from our home, or are we
Correct.
coming through?
You could certainly do it from home, yes,
Okay.
of course, yeah.
It's their annual meeting.
Yeah, I was to a couple when they were in person, and they had some pretty good stories.
Right, yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
They tend to bring in 2 or 3 different companies to tell you how that.
I tell you what, let's just do this. We'll just register you all, and if you can participate, great. If you can't, I understand. We'll just, you'll get an email link that's got the Zoom information. We'll just register everybody and take care. Because there's no
Good idea.
cost or anything. So let's just do that. Yeah. Alrighty, we're closing in on it. We're closing in on this. Yep, the BEP annual meeting.
My phone is smoking.
You've maxed out the storage capacity of your phone. January 28th at 7:30, the BEP annual meeting. It's going to be also virtual, I understand.
AM? Yeah.
So, I think in that instance, again, we'll just register everybody, and you'll get an email with a link to the meeting.
How long is that meeting typically?
They try to be all done by 9 o'clock.
A couple hours, yeah, a couple hours. There's a speaker.
Tomorrow, you're saying?
That's January 28th at 7:30, the BEP annual meeting. And again, Commissioner Sung, we'll register all of our board members, and then you'll get the meeting invite, the meeting link to that. I think Amanda's going to use GoToMeeting for this. So there, maybe Commissioner Pop, I know the last it was a quarterly meeting was in person. I remember we had breakfast.
It was, yeah.
Yeah, I asked Amanda about that, and she virtually didn't think that the Sock Rapids would
That's
allow
the
that.
issue. That's right. We can't use Sock Rapids Government Center wall because they're closed right now.
Actually, the last one was our quarterly meeting when we
Yeah.
had King Banyan.
That's the issue, right? I forgot about that. You can't.
They allowed 35, I think, at that
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
So
It was okay.
And they're anticipating maybe going back to the quarterly meeting in April or May, and hopefully we can be in person.
Sure.
push it back.
Yep.
If we wait till May, we can. We've met, prior times we've been at the Hops Farm, we've been at St. Cloud Refrigeration, there's been different places that we met for the quarterly meeting too. So I know she's got a few invites for this, but it's gotta be, they want you to be there in person.
Mr. Chair, that concludes our committee of the whole listing.
How about that, Mr. Heinen?
We'd appreciate a motion to approve those. That'd be great. Thanks.
So moved.
I'll second.
Vicky, you wanna do the roll?
Commissioner Schlangen,
Aye.
Commissioner Johnson,
Aye.
Commissioner Pop,
Aye.
Commissioner Gopinski,
Aye.
Commissioner Heinen.
All right.
And just to know, folks, and that is, of course, Vicky will update this today, and I imagine we'll email it out to you all today. So in the event you maybe didn't get those all written down, we'll get that list out to you real soon.
Anything else to come before the board?
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
We're adjourned.
We have a 5-minute recess here.
Yeah, we'll take a little bit of recess and we'll be back for a ditch authority meeting. And
Mike's.
We're good? I'll call the Benton County, or I'll call to order the Benton County Ditch Authority meeting. Approve or amend the agenda.
Mr. Chair, I would like to add an agenda item. We can put it between 6 and 7. And this would be the professional services agreement with the viewers that were approved back in December.
Anything else?
That's all I have.
Mr. Chair, I'll move to approve the agenda with the added item.
Second.
Motion's been made and second to approve the agenda. Roll call again. Is Beth back on?
Commissioner Schlangen?
Yes. Aye.
Commissioner Johnson?
Aye.
Commissioner Pop?
Aye.
Commissioner Gopinski?
Aye.
Commissioner Heinen?
Aye.
Number 3 is to select the Benton County Ditch Authority officers. You can see on your agenda how it's been in the past.
I'll nominate Ed Pop to serve as the chair for the Benton County Ditch Authority.
Second.
Any other nominations?
There's a second on it, so you gotta go with the motion.
Oh, okay. So you wanna call the roll, Vicky?
Commissioner Schlangen?
Aye.
Commissioner Johnson?
Aye.
Commissioner Pop?
Aye.
Commissioner Gopinski?
Aye.
Commissioner Heinen?
Aye.
Okay. And now we'll look for a vice chair.
Mr. Chair, I'll nominate Commissioner Heinen as the vice chair.
I'll second.
Motion been made and seconded for Commissioner Heinen for vice chair. Vicky, you wanna call the roll?
Commissioner Schlangen?
Aye.
Commissioner Johnson?
Aye.
Commissioner Pop?
Aye.
Commissioner Gopinski?
Aye.
Commissioner Heinen?
Aye.
Approve or amend the minutes of December 14th, 2020.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the minutes of December 14th. Any discussion on that? Hearing none, Vicky, you wanna call the roll?
Commissioner Schlangen?
Aye.
Commissioner Johnson?
Aye.
Commissioner Pop?
Aye.
Commissioner Gopinski?
Aye.
Commissioner Heinen?
Aye.
Carried. Repair petition on County Ditch number 10.
All right. Well, congratulations, commissioners. Along with being the regular board of commissioners, you also sit as the drainage authority for Benton County. So you get to weigh in and approve matters relating to those county ditches. And we'll talk more about county ditches in general under my engineer's update. But what we have before us today is a repair petition, meaning there's a landowner that has an interest in a county ditch that is requesting us to look at it and repair it as necessary. So statute, I attached the statute where this is talked about and discussed. It's 103E.715, repair by petition. And it says there in subdivision 1, the very first paragraph, that an individual or an entity interested in or affected by a drainage system may file a petition to repair the drainage system. The petition must state that the drainage system needs repair. And it says the auditor shall present the petition to the board at its next meeting, or for a joint drainage system, the drainage authority within 10 days after the petition is filed. So that's why I have Heather Bondis from the auditor's office, because technically by statute, the repair petitions are received and presented by the auditor treasurer's office, although this did come to me at the highway department.
Is Michelle with us too? Just if any questions come up?
Oh, good question.
I don't.
She was going to try to attend this
Doesn't
morning.
look like it. No. Okay, she's not.
Well, I will add that this person was present online when we had our big ditch hearing back in December. So even though we moved forward in ordering redetermination of benefits, these landowners do wish to have the ditch considered and for a repair. So attached to the agenda item and on the screen now is this repair petition. This is like a sample form that we have kind of put together in an RFS, and I filled in the pertinent information as it regards to this ditch, and it is signed. Oh, there it is. There's the actual signed petition by the landowners. So, like I said, I have Heather here. Michelle would be a good one to ask, I guess, if the auditor treasurer actually has to read this aloud or
Sure,
not.
why not?
Since she's here. We made her sit here, so. The auditor treasurer will present the repair petition.
Sorry about that, Mr. Chair.
That's okay.
Okay. Hi.
Good morning.
Okay, so we have received a repair petition for County Ditch number 10, and it comes from some landowners. Let's see here. I'll just read through it. Pursuant to Minnesota Statute 103E.715, the petitioners seek the repair of County Ditch number 10. For their petition, the undersigned petitioners state and allege the following. They're requesting repair of County Ditch number 10 pursuant to Minnesota Statute 103E.715. County Ditch number 10 provides beneficial drainage to tracts, government lots and properties, township, county, and state roads and highways located in sections 20, 29, 30, and 31 in Mayhew Lake Township, and sections 6, 7, and 18 in Minden Township, Benton County, Minnesota. County Ditch number 10 is in need of repair. The greatest benefit will come from cleaning the ditch from County Road number 4 south 1 mile and 1/4 mile north. However, the entire waterway is in need of long overdue cleaning and maintenance. Repair of County Ditch number 10 is necessary in order to restore the drainage system as nearly as practicable to the same hydraulic capacity as originally constructed and subsequently improved, and to maintain the efficiency of the drainage system. The repair of County Ditch number 10 is necessary for the best interests of the affected property owners, or the repair petition is signed by the owners of at least 26% of the property area affected and assessed for the original construction of the drainage system. The repair of County Ditch number 10 is needed because the drainage system no longer serves its original purpose. Petitioners request that the Drainage Authority investigate whether the current benefits or damages determined and on file for County Ditch number 10 reflect reasonable present-day land values, or that the benefited damaged areas have changed. If the Drainage Authority finds that the current benefits or damages determined and on file for County Ditch number 10 do not reflect reasonable present-day land values, or that the benefited or damaged areas have changed, the petitioners request that the Drainage Authority order a redetermination of benefits for County Ditch number 10 concurrent with the repair. Petitioners request that the Drainage Authority appoint an engineer to examine the drainage system and make a repair report. The report must show the necessary repairs, the estimated cost of the repairs, all details, plans, and specifications necessary to prepare and award a contract for the repairs. The petition may be signed in counterparts. Respectfully submitted this 22nd day of December 2020 by, and it's signed down at the bottom by Tracy Reinert Adams and Richard Adams. They're the owners of property 07.00364.04, which is located in Mayhew Lake Township. And their mailing address is 6540 Masada Drive in Chesterfield, Virginia, 23838. Again, dated December 22nd, 2020. And we have reviewed this petition and found it to be acceptable by statute. And I know that Michelle has also repaired it as well, or reviewed it as well as Chris. I'm sorry.
Hopefully repaired it.
Yeah.
Reviewed it. My apologies.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Chris, could you please blow up that ditch for people that aren't aware of where this is?
Yeah, so I do have a map here of all of our ditches. See if I can bring it up here. So County Ditch 10 is also known as Mayhew Creek. So here it is. There's Mayhew Lake. The creek comes out of the lake, and it does not become a county ditch till the beginning of this section here. And then it travels through Mayhew Lake Township into Minden Township. And then somewhere kind of behind where the Sauk Rapids High School is, it ceases to be County Ditch 10 and actually becomes County Ditch 11, even though it's the same waterway. So what we've received here is a repair petition on County Ditch 10, and so we'll be obligated to only look at County Ditch 10 at this point. But this is where we're at. They mentioned in the repair petition specifically areas directly south of County Road 4 and north there. But it'll be our responsibility. We'll look at the whole ditch there. I mentioned that it's also Mayhew Creek because Mayhew Creek is designated as a public water, which just added just an additional challenge to it, where we will have to coordinate with the DNR. By statute, they can't restrict us from repairing it, but they can keep us to only doing a repair, meaning we can only go back to the way it was originally constructed. It's very unlikely that we'd be allowed to improve it, meaning making it wider, deeper, larger, and those kind of things. So that's kind of the location of the ditch. Let's see here. Where was my... the next thing would be to review the repair petition, and then included in your agenda item 2 was a findings in order. So if the Drainage Authority so chooses, you may go ahead and order a repair report. To do that, you would appoint a county engineer, and it's recommended to appoint me as the ditch engineer, I should say. Me as the county engineer, appoint me as the ditch engineer, and then order me to complete a repair report.
Chris, I guess I have some questions on some discussion on this. So you said it goes down into Sauk Rapids and then it becomes ditch 11?
Correct.
So if we clean ditch 10 down to ditch 11, what's the alterations of ditch 11 going to be? Are we going to flood somebody out? Are we not going to have good drainage in that part? We can't go ahead and clean this ditch if we're not going to be able to have the water capacity in ditch 11.
True. So I mentioned we can only look at ditch 10. Part of our process in completing that repair report is we'll have to consider the outlet and determine if the outlet is sufficient. Now that process may lead us to say, well, ditch 11 is not going to take on the original flow. Then at that point, I'd have to come back and we'd have to do another action to order a repair report or order an engineer's report on ditch 11. So it sounds kind of goofy and complicated, but these ditch systems, they are very segmented and and designed to kind of look at themselves. So that's one of the things we'll have to do. We will have to consider 11, but it would require another action before we would do any repair or do any digging in that ditch.
Commissioner Heinen?
Mr. Chair, yeah. So in the past, that's what we've always done, is when there was a petition from one and wherever it goes to the outlet, we always had to bring that one in too after the fact. Now, I do know this one is flooded every spring. I do know. I also know that they also did drain tiling this fall. So it's going to be needed now for sure.
You're talking on ditch 10?
Ditch 10, correct. Yep.
Okay.
Every spring it's flooded. It's almost up to the road. Every spring.
Okay. I'm just a little concerned about, that where ditch 11 evidently releases into the Mississippi, I would take somewheres, right?
Well, ditch 11 continues down and it stops at some point, and Mayhew Creek continues on south down into it actually intersects with the Elk River and then continues into Sherburne County. So even if we consider looking at ditch 11, there comes a point where ditch 11 stops, but the creek continues. So who knows? It may be a domino effect. It may just lead to one thing after another. We do have the benefit that we have already ordered the redetermination of benefits. So what Commissioner Heining just referenced about tiling, that will be already looked at under that process already initiated. And I think if we didn't even have that process initiated, us completing the repair report would most likely lead us to need to do that process anyway. So once again, going back to that process we started back in December, I think it's good that we got that ball rolling. We can work on this concurrently, but I don't anticipate any repair or any excavating or any digging happening until we complete that redetermination of benefits.
Commissioner Heinen?
Mr. Chair, Chris, familiarize me or bring me up to date again. So there's two other landowners involved in this too. One to the east and one to the west. Have they been notified yet about this petition of repair?
No, all those landowners have been notified of the hearing that we had back in December.
Right.
And these, I do know, because I talked to them shortly after the hearing, these landowners were present. They were on the call then too. So as far as moving forward with the repair petition, no, nobody has been notified additionally of that.
Mr. Chair. Chris, just for clarification, you said it would potentially bring up the study or report on County Ditch 11. If indeed it comes to this board that that's something that has to be done also, do we have the authority to go ahead and clean Ditch 11, or do we need a petition by a landowner for that?
Yeah, very good question. There are two ways that a repair can be initiated. It could be by an interested landowner requesting it, and they call it a repair petition, and it only has to be one landowner. It doesn't have to be a certain number. It could be either or. Or by our own inspections and engineering, we can order that repair and say it's necessary. So that we have that option still. If it comes to that point, we can go ahead and do it.
Thank you.
Traditionally, that hasn't been done because we don't have ditch funds, meaning we don't have a bank account sitting to go initiate the repair. So it's sort of been this process to bring it forward and just make everybody aware that we don't have funds and we will be needing to assess to.
But even if, as you as an engineer say we need to do ditch 11, that can be assessed to the landowners, right?
Correct. Everything that we're doing regarding county ditches is assessed by only to those that receive a benefit. So
Right,
it doesn't come out of the general levy.
Sure.
Mr. Chair, just a clarification. After determination of ditch 10 and the outlet of where the water goes and you find an issue there, you don't do anything until the outlet is taken care of and you look at ditch 11, correct?
Correct. Yeah. So if approved today, we will do an engineer's report, and that means we'll go out and survey it, or I will hire some consultant help to just help us do that. Create construction drawings of what that repair project would look like, and then that has to come back. We will actually have to have a public hearing on that report before it's even approved and ordered to make the repair. So right now we're just ordering. In other words, we're ordering a study, let's say, to look at it. And before we approve hiring a contractor, that'll come back after a public hearing as well. So.
Okay.
It's a long process.
So there is a findings and an order if approved. If the board chair wishes, I can read through that findings and order. So, and then afterwards there'll be need a motion and a second and a vote on that. So, would you like me to read it just to know what we're doing, or we feel comfortable?
I can read it.
Yeah, we can read it.
Okay. Would you like me to read it, or?
I guess no.
I don't need you to.
No, we don't need it. I guess.
No.
Okay.
They don't need it.
All right.
No.
So that would, we need a motion and a second, and then a roll call vote on the findings and order for the repair report.
So, Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to adopt the foregoing findings and order a report for County Ditch 10 as
Second.
presented.
Motion's been made and seconded. Vicki, you want to call the roll?
Commissioner Schlangen?
Aye.
Commissioner Johnson?
Aye.
Commissioner Pop?
Aye.
Commissioner Gopinski?
Aye.
Commissioner Heinen?
Aye.
The question was called and finding 5 ayes and 0 nays. Request is approved.
Very good. So then we will get to work on doing an initial survey and preparing that report. So.
And then number 6 is Judicial Ditch 1A.
All right, the fun just keeps coming. All right, so now that you are aware that you are the drainage authority for Benton County, when a ditch crosses county lines, it becomes known as a judicial ditch. So the process that we're going through, or we just initiated with County Ditch 10, came up in Mille Lacs County last year. And so they started looking at a ditch in the southwest part of their county. And during that process, they discovered that that ditch has benefited acres in Benton and in Sherburne County. Therefore, the ditch crosses county lines. So it creates a judicial ditch. And to establish that is through a joint powers agreement between the 3 counties. And so the agreement is there attached to the agenda item, but I want to scroll down and kind of show everybody here a map where this ditch lies. So there's the county lines in this solid purple line, Benton, Sherburne, Mille Lacs County. The actual open channel ditch is in Mille Lacs County. There is no, from what I understand, there's no open channel actually in Benton County. But when they did their redetermination of benefits process, they determined that there is property that receives a benefit from drainage in that county ditch. So before they can move forward with the repair of their ditch, they need to establish this judicial ditch authority. So maybe a couple other things I'll point out. This hatched area, this solid dark line is what the viewers had determined as the entire drainage area. But you can see a large chunk of the drainage area in Benton County. This yellow hatching means that it doesn't receive a benefit. Okay? These darker brown, reddish brown colored areas, this is class 5. So they're saying that these lands do receive a benefit. But what I know of kind of going through this process before, land or class, I lost scrolling. Class 5 land receives the lowest value of benefit when considering a ditch system. Okay, so we got this joint powers agreement. In that joint powers agreement, it establishes who sits on this board. And I believe, if I recall after reading through this, there'll be 3 commissioners from Mille Lacs County that'll sit on this board, 1 commissioner from Benton County, and 1 commissioner from Sherburne County. And there it is. Mille Lacs County shall appoint 3 of its members. The Benton County Ditch Authority shall appoint the member whose district the ditch lies in and an alternate to serve on the Joint Ditch Authority Board. So congratulations, Commissioner Johnson. This is in your district. So that's what the agreement, if approved, basically says, that you would sit on this board as well. But you as a whole board can elect an alternate member as well. So
I'll make a motion for Commissioner Johnson to sit on this board.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded for Commissioner Johnson to sit on the Joint Powers Board.
very good. So there was the whole agreement.
You got a
question for Chris. So Chris, is the joint powers agreement ready for approval today? In other words, has it had Michelle's scrutiny?
Yes, she had reviewed this. I believe I got her. I believe I got her signature on the agenda item as well. This copy doesn't have it, but so it is ready for signature. Okay. So that was the next thing. Thank you, Monty. There was a finding in order included in this, and they had already voted on it. I believe we had maybe not. So yeah, I guess at this point we've made the appointment that Commissioner Johnson would sit or serve on this board. We would need approval of the actual agreement itself and a vote on that.
Do we need to do the roll on Commissioner Johnson's appointee?
Yes.
Okay. Vicky?
Commissioner Schlangen?
Aye.
Commissioner Johnson?
Aye.
Commissioner Pop?
Aye.
Commissioner Gopinski?
Aye.
Commissioner Heinen?
Aye. Mr. Chair, now they also want an alternate, correct?
Correct, yes.
I make a motion to make Commissioner Pop the alternate.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded for Commissioner Pop to be the alternate. The roll, Vicky.
Commissioner Schlangen?
Aye.
Commissioner Johnson?
Aye.
Commissioner Pop?
Aye.
Commissioner Gopinski?
Aye.
Commissioner Heinen?
Aye.
Okay, and then we need another agreement to enter into that.
Yeah, it'll be another motion, a second, and a vote on the actual agreement.
I got a question. Did these property owners have any say? like when they were determining this ditch or the benefits?
Okay, so very good question. We can talk about the process as I understand it. So they got to this point in the redetermination of benefits where they discovered that their benefited property crosses the line. And that kind of put a stop in the process until they established this ditch authority. So once this is established, the next step would be to continue and complete that redetermination of benefits process. Well, there'll be landowner meetings, there'll be public hearings on the viewer's report, and then there'll be future hearings on the repair report. So you're right. I don't know if all of them have been notified to this point. I do know that Mille Lacs County has hired the same viewers that we're getting ready to hire, H2O reviewers, and they have completed landowner reports. I don't know if they've mailed those out. I think this was what was holding everything up, is to establish. So by establishing this judicial ditch authority, now they have the authority to do it. Before this judicial ditch was established, the Mille Lacs County Ditch Authority didn't have the authority to be contacting Benton County residents, so to speak, if you kind of think about it that way. Okay. So I think after we complete this, now those landowners will be notified and the calls will start, Commissioner Johnson.
Their process will have to go through that Joint Powers Board.
Yes, so Sherburne County's doing the same thing, and Mille Lacs County, I think they've already signed the agreement. That's why they had the order in finding.
Mr. Chair. Chris, on your agenda item here, you've got an estimated cost with question marks. Are we perceiving any costs from the Joint Powers Agreement, or?
So, yes, there will be costs, especially if they move forward with a repair.
Okay.
I do not know what those are, because once again, you think back to the process, Mille Lacs County just kind of went forward thinking that this is their ditch, they'll be able to do everything, and then it crossed county line. So they probably don't even know what those costs are going to be now that we have a lot of additional property owners brought in. So kind of go back to your question, we will end up probably establishing some kind of accounting system so we can track any costs that we have that we will, and I think that's addressed in the agreement as well, we will bill back to the Mille Lacs County. They're going to be the fiscal agent for this ditch authority.
So there's possibility of being reimbursed for that, and then of course if there'd be assessments that would be given potentially.
Correct. Yep. So Mille Lacs County will be required to put together all those assessment lists, and then we will give that to our county auditor office to send those with the tax statements every year.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll make a motion to approve the amended Joint Powers Agreement between Benton, Mille Lacs, and Sherburne.
I'll second.
Motion been made and seconded to enter into the Joint Powers Agreement with Mille Lacs, Benton, and Sherburne counties. Any further discussion? Vicki, you want to call the roll?
Commissioner Schlangen?
Aye.
Commissioner Johnson?
Aye.
Commissioner Pop?
Aye.
Commissioner Gopinski?
Aye.
Commissioner Heinen?
Aye.
Motion carried on a 5-0 vote. Then we're going to have the service agreement.
Yeah.
That was before us.
All right. Well, thank you for allowing me to put this on the agenda at the last minute. This is something that we've been kind of negotiating for a few months now. For the returning commissioners, as you know, we had a public hearing on December 14th of 2020 to consider this redetermination of benefits process on several of our county ditches within the county. And that process, after the public hearing moved forward, it was ordered to complete that. Although we ordered the redetermination, it doesn't actually get us into a contractual agreement with those doing the viewing, and that's what's before you today. This was negotiated right up until Friday afternoon to where we got an agreement that our county attorney's office was comfortable with. So that's basically what it is. You'll see 3 different agreements, and the reason for that is, maybe I can go back to our map. We had a public hearing for basically all of our ditches, but ditch 3 and ditch 9 had received repair petitions, much like ditch 10 did today. So that process had already been started, and our attorney's office felt comfortable, or more comfortable, with separating those out, because we're kind of doing that redetermination under a different set of procedures, so to speak. But basically, all of our ditches, if all three of these agreements are approved, all of our ditches in the county will have this redetermination of benefits process. One of the reasons why we decided to do this was because we were going to get a discount in cost by combining all these. So they're giving us a flat fee of $4 per benefited acre to do all these ditches kind of at once. And they are going to complete this process on all these ditches over the next 12 months. So the discount came to be about 50 cents per acre. If we had gone through this and had a public hearing on each individual ditch and entered into a agreement on each one of it, was going to be $4.50 an acre. Now, what I recall is we're anticipating about, of all of our ditches, about 30,000 acres potentially receiving a benefit that would be included in all this process. So 50 cents an acre, we're passing on those savings to the assessed landowner, so to speak. So it seemed like it was beneficial to at least pursue this and try to get that discounted rate.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
I think just for clarification, you touched on it a little bit, Chris, so the $120,000 estimate based on the number of benefited acres, these again are dollars that are passed on through the assessment process to the benefited property owners.
Correct, yep. So yeah, it's we can't just take that 120,000 if it came out to a nice even number and divide it by all acres equally. It kind of goes back to that earlier map I showed with the different classes.
Okay.
Obviously, those next to the ditch receive a higher benefit than those farther away from the ditch. So that helps proportion out their cost.
In this case, the county's outlaying the money to do this, and at some point in the future, based on the benefit, those assessments will be made.
Correct. That's how it works. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mr. Chair?
Oh, go ahead.
From previous conversations, I think our ditches need some work, and I think the taxpayers are reaching out on that. I like the ability to, even though somebody's land isn't butting up to a ditch, they are still having benefits from it. So I think this redetermination is a good thing for the county.
Okay. I just had one question on that stuff you sent out last evening. There was some language in there about different cost. I maybe, it was a lot to read at. I guess I would have appreciated this to come out and have a little more time to read it. I know we went through it, but I was reading I got like 30 some pages, I believe.
That's correct. Yeah, because there's actually 3 separate agreements in there. You're right. So, and that's very understandable.
Still, the total cost of doing this, other than the repair, is still at the $4 per acre, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Correct.
Even though some of the language in there suggested maybe a little different.
Yep. So yeah, rates and fees, $4 per acre.
Right. But I went on there someplace to talk about. I got the liability factor and all that other stuff that was in there. I got all that, but yeah. I was just reading it last night, and then finally I got enough reading, and I.
Sure. Yeah, and I just wanted to try to get it before you because we're already a month out from when we ordered the
Okay.
and
so
we need to take some
why
more time.
we did it on a short notice like this, was because we need to get rolling.
Well, that's and I don't have any issues if we want to take some time to look at the agreement and approve it at a subsequent meeting.
I mean, as long as we're okay with the $4 per acre, and we know where we're going, and as Commissioner Kapinski stated, there's a desire for that out there. I'm okay with it.
Yeah. I'll mention the hourly services. I think maybe in this section here, section 2, B and C, additional hourly services. So that $4 per acre includes them making the site visits, using their GIS tools and surveying tools to determine the drainage area, determining the value of benefits per landowner, completing the landowner's reports. If there's things additional, they're offering a $75 per hour charge. And they're also noticing if we get taken to court and we need them to be an expert witness, that's $120 per hour. So those would be additional things above the $4 per benefit.
I mean, we'll have some control over, if we get taken to court, but how about the additional hours on a per acre charge? at the $75 per hour. That's, I think, where I had some trouble understanding how that got in there and why it is in there.
Yeah, a good question. I don't know if I have a good answer for that. There was a section that talked about.
Mr. Chair, if I could, while he's looking, I am in agreement with what the things that you've said. One thing I'm not understanding, I did not see this extended contract. I don't know if I just was missed or if did everybody else receive it?
It came email from
It came
Chris.
in an email.
Yeah, so
I'm
I'm looking at my county email right now and I don't see it on here.
Okay.
How big a deal, Chris, to approve this look at this at our next meeting?
I don't know. It's not the end of the world. The viewers probably aren't going to get started doing their work until they have a signed agreement in their hand.
I guess from my perspective, I'd like to say that I was able to review it.
Well,
and again, you've got a question for him that maybe would give him some time to be able to.
It's a lot to review in a short period of time.
Everybody else received it?
It was a lot.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm very comfortable with that. I just didn't want to delay, since I did have it by Friday afternoon. I thought there was a potential to at least get it before you today, and if we take another 2 weeks, that's no skin off my nose, but I didn't want to wait 2 weeks from today. And it'd be the first time you see it.
Well,
then, so.
I think that the section you just did, that hourly deal, was the only question I had. Because if you start doing that, you could add, 50 cents to $1 an acre more pretty easily. And I'm not quite sure on what control we have over that.
Mr. Chair, and I think the clarification would be, when does that start? I mean, at what conditions do they start charging us an hourly rate above and beyond?
And I know that they're a reputable company and they're doing ditches across the state.
Right.
So I'm not too worried about that part. But, is that pretty common or whatever,
Sure, good questions. I will take those back to.
It does feel odd to give a $4 per acre and then throw in an hourly rate as a catch-all.
And I could see the litigation if we had to go to court. I totally understand that one.
Mr. Chair, do you need a motion to table this or just leave it sit, or how would you like to proceed?
That would probably be the best way of doing it.
Bring it back at the first meeting in February?
Yep.
Yep. So, Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to table this professional services contract to complete the redetermination of benefits until our next county board meeting.
Second.
Motion been made and second to table it. Any other discussion?
And I should clarify, that should be the ditch authority meeting, not the county board.
Okay.
Correct. Yes, and I would like Chris to do clarification on all of these extra costs that could be incurred. One, definitions.
February 2nd?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So Vicky, you want to call the roll again?
Commissioner Schlangen?
Aye.
Commissioner Johnson?
Aye.
Commissioner Pop?
Aye.
Commissioner Gopinski?
Aye.
Commissioner Heinen?
Aye.
All right.
Carries on a 5-0 vote. Engineers update. Got anything for us, Chris?
Yeah, well, I was just going to update you because, okay, so some of these ditches we have had in the pipeline. County Ditch 6, that was started last year on our own recognizance, so to speak, looking at it and determining that it needed some attention. So I do have a draft engineer's repair report for that. I'm currently reviewing it. The next step in that ditch would be to bring that forward probably at the next meeting, and then have to set a public hearing on that report. And then that public hearing would require us to notify all the landowners that would affect, that we are considering ordering a repair on County Ditch 6. County Ditch 14, we started the same thing, looking at it because we knew it needed repaired, and then we kind of stopped when we received the repair petition for Ditch 9 because we determined that Ditch 14 drains into Ditch 9. So we have started the engineering work on Ditch 9 as well. You see on our map here, Ditch 13 and 15, those were repaired probably about 4 years ago now. We had went through the redetermination of benefits process on those and did a repair report. So I'm not anticipating any work on those ditches, hopefully for a long time while we get through these other ones. Ditch 3 as well, I have a draft repair report for Ditch 3 also that I need to review. And that would require setting a public hearing for ditch 3 before we move forward with doing any actions on that ditch also. So,
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Chris, so moving forward with ditch 3, did you contact MnDOT and the city of Sauk Rapids about that? Because it goes through under Highway 10 and into the city of Sauk Rapids.
Not yet. So, because I'm still looking at our repair report, and my initial review showed that there looks like in our ditch there was a considerable amount of sediment. So, I think before we set a public hearing, I should say, before we set a public hearing, I will reach out to those entities specifically and make them aware of it, so they know that. But that's why that ditch is we haven't moved forward with anything more on that. But at a minimum, there will be a public hearing, and all those will be notified of that. And so, to recap what we did today with the agreement and back in December, essentially every ditch on this map, except for 13 and 15, will have that redetermination of benefits process completed over the next year. I don't anticipate us actually, or me as the county engineer, actually recommending, even though you may order the repair, not actually completing the repair until we have that benefits process completed. So then we know all the landowners that are involved. Because it makes sense to make sure that they are included and notify them that they will receive assessments in the future before we even dig any dirt on it. Although we do, I think, as Drainage Authority, have the ability to repair as necessary if we need to. Since we've already started this process, why don't we just wait and make sure we're notifying everybody before we actually put any equipment in the ground? So,
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
I like that approach, and I think you're gonna run into that with that judicial ditch.
Yeah.
Especially if they start moving forward without notifying Benton County individuals.
Thank you for making that. It does remind me of something I wanted to say earlier when we were talking about that judicial ditch. Since it comprises of all 3 county boards, I don't anticipate them meeting regularly, only as needed. I believe Sherburne and Mille Lacs County are on the same kind of board schedule as we are. So they'd be meeting this same time today with their regular boards. So when needed, it probably will be sometime outside of this normal board meeting time. But it won't be as regular county board meetings, I don't anticipate.
You'll communicate that with me, Chris, then, when those dates are?
I'll make sure that you're notified, yeah.
Okay,
so.
thank you.
Chris, has there been any talk, when you talk to different ditch authorities, that the next process in a ditch in drainage is going to be 3, 4, 5 miles away from the ditch? People are now starting to put in pumping systems. So they tile a bunch of property, put it to a reservoir, and the pump runs 24/7 at a very low, you're not building head pressure, so you don't have that. And so now they're going out at one Pacific County that I've had conversation, they're going out further and they're getting more benefited acres because that water is being pumped into the county ditch.
Oh,
and then it becomes, and as person A does it, person B thinks it's a good idea, here we're going to do it. So pretty soon they got a lot more water going through that ditch than what was originally done, and and they're going to have repairs and clean up, stuff like that. So then, this ditching system seems like it's really caught on across the state, and more people want to get into drainage because we know what happens when if you got good drainage, you go from, maybe you're getting 100 bushel to the acre corn, and you drain that out and you can push 200. And so I thought when we get this all done, we would be done. Ditches would become done, but I don't think ditch authority is ever going to be done. I think it's an ongoing process.
Chris, explain to, even the new commissioners what our responsibilities are through the duration of these ditches.
So in the ideal world, we would be maintaining these as necessary, just much like we do our roads. In one regard, ditches are a little bit simpler, that it's codified in statute how those ditches are paid for, where road funding and a lot of the other things we do as a county, it's not as clear cut who pays for those things. So we, over the next few years, we repair all of our ditches and get them into a condition of good repair. We should just be maintaining those as necessary. And that's usually accomplished by having a maintenance fund set up. So some of these landowners will probably have a small assessment forevermore, and the idea is that just over time, that'll build up that maintenance fund, and we'll draw from that maintenance fund to repair as necessary, as opposed to depleting that fund, not doing anything, and then having to come back with a large project and large assessments. That's done in a lot of counties where they have maintained their drainage systems. So.
It is the county's responsibility to oversee and look every 10 years, though, on every ditch.
So we have a responsibility to inspect our ditches at a minimum once every 5 years, or 20% of your ditch system every year. So that would be something that we need to do a better job. I am not afraid to admit that. We need to do a better job with that. A lot of that comes down to staff availability and resources. And it hasn't been as much of a priority in the past as it has in the last couple years. So, because even when we do our inspections, in statute, that says that's a cost to that ditch system. So we will have to track our time as we inspect each ditch and make sure that that's only charged back to that ditch that we were actually working on.
Well, I mean, when we did 13 and 15, it was 100 years since the ditch was looked at.
Right. That's not acceptable.
Yeah, and that, you know, and so there was many county engineers before you that neglected it.
Yeah, and I will say that the perception has changed, kind of what you touched on there, Commissioner Pop. You go back and you read some of the meeting minutes on all these ditches, and it's not that these ditches haven't come up. It's just that in the past there's been overwhelmingly lack of support to move forward from sometimes the public. You have a public hearing and people say, I don't want to be assessed for this, and therefore the project didn't move forward. It's been about 6 years now, though. There was a court case in Stearns County and it was actually in a residential area. They discovered that an old county ditch that had been neglected ran through their neighborhood, and it was a tile line, actually, and they sued the drainage authority and said that their lack of maintenance has flooded their basement. The courts ruled in favor of that landowner, and what that said is ditch authorities can no longer neglect or ignore their ditches even if there is lack of support to assess it. Meaning that ditch authority, you will clean that ditch out and you will assess it even if people don't like it. So that kind of changed the opinions about 6 years ago. I think more ditch authorities have started doing more work with it.
That was a big deal when we were viewing ditches through Rinky Newman, that this court case was won and Stearns County had to move forward with.
I have a feeling, Mr. Chair, that might be an item that's discussed on our goal meeting.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, ditches aren't going away.
No.
Yeah, they're not going away. No, they're not.
I do want to touch on something Commissioner Pop said about, miles away pumping. Once we complete this redetermination process, we will know everybody that will be included in that ditch system. If a landowner is not, and they do want to drain into that ditch, they have to petition the drainage authority, and you as a drainage authority can consider that and allow them to connect. And the statute even talks about a connection
fee, correct.
You can ask me as the ditch engineer to look at that and say, does that ditch have enough capacity? Could we allow that? And if so, we can allow them, but they pay into that ditch. So there may be cases where we say, as constructed, there's not enough capacity, we would have to improve it. And then that starts a whole nother process that does require a minimum number of signatures of those on the ditch to have it improved.
Or the connection fee's big enough to cover that.
True, that's something I think could be considered too. And maybe it becomes a cost prohibitive that landowners don't want to move forward with it. So
then the DNR gets involved as well.
Correct. Improvements do have to be reviewed by the regulatory agency, DNR, and the Board of Water and Soil Resources. So that may lead to even wetland mitigation. So you have the construction cost, then you have to pay to replace wetlands that you may impact. So the curve almost looks like a COVID infection curve.
It kind of comes back to DNR and Bowser all the time.
Yeah.
Kind of like the gift that keeps giving.
Yeah.
Giving on it.
So, all right. So thanks, Chris, for the knowledge and the updates. Anything else come for Ditch Authority?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
We're adjourned. It sounded like this was in Renville County.